If you were watching the show last night, you saw it happen in real time. If you missed it, I'm going to present it for you. Because I got an email directly from the White House right in the middle of the broadcast. Not through leaks, not through spin, an official memorandum addressed to every executive department and agency in the federal government. What it contained was nothing short of historic. President Trump, and the thing is, nobody's talking about this. We searched far and wide today. Who was talking about this memorandum? Nobody is. And I wonder why. We're going to find out why. See, President Trump just ordered the United States to withdraw from and defund 66 international organizations, including 31 United Nations organizations.
It's the motherfucking DJD.
They told the California people that they would spend a few $1 billion to build this rail. We're talking over $100 billion now. No, there's no rail. There's no rail in California. Who took the money? He's the king of fraud. There's never been this much fraud in the history of the American history.
Governor, you got a second? Governor, I live here, Governor. That was my daughter's school, Governor. Please tell me what you're going to do for I'm not going to hurt him, I promise.
I'm literally talking to the president right now to specifically answer the question of what we can do for you and your daughter.
Can I hear it? Can I hear your call? Because I don't believe it.
Funny how silence works. Not one Democrat flooded the streets when Laken Riley was beaten, raped, tortured, strangled, and had her skull smashed with a rock by an illegal alien. There were no marches, there were no hashtags, no candlelight vigils, no virtue. Not one Democrat demanded deportations when 12-year-old Jocelyn Nungare was raped and then had her throat slit by two illegals. Not a word about borders, not a whisper about accountability, not a single protest demanding justice for a small American child. Not one Democrat staged outrage for Rachel Morin, a mother of five young babies, strangled, sexually assaulted, beaten to death with a rock. Apparently, motherhood only matters when it's politically convenient. I said beaten to death with a rock. Not a gun, not a knife, not forks, but a rock, whatever was readily available to murder an American. Not one Democrat tweeted a single syllable about Dakara Thompson after an illegal sexually assaulted her and then chucked her off the bridge like she was just trash. Silence. Absolute silence. No emergency panels, no breathless press conferences, no moral panic, no calls to dismantle the policies that imported the predators who did it. But let a white liberal woman ram a 4,000 to 4,700 pound vehicle into an ICE agent, and suddenly it's a national emergency. Suddenly it's protests all over the place. Suddenly people are showing up at federal agencies, standing and impeding progress. Suddenly it's tears, whining, crying, gnashing of teeth. Suddenly it's hand-wringing about law enforcement and state violence. That car wasn't a misunderstanding. It wasn't confusion. It wasn't fear. A vehicle at that weight is a deadly weapon. Period, point blank. So cope.
Boy, do we have a great video today. We're going to be talking about the waste and fraud and abuse. It's going to blow your mind. 1913, no one paid taxes. The amount of fraud that is actually being used in our government. When they said that it would be taken out, listen to this. They said if we truly expose the amount of fraud, that anyone under $500,000 a year most likely would never pay taxes again, because the waste, fraud, and abuse is actually just taxation on us for them to rob us blind. Wait till you hear this story. It will blow your mind. Something that Elon reposted, but it was actually from a credible source showing the waste, fraud, and abuse that's going on in our nation. And it's from both sides, definitely more the Democrats, but it does not take out the fact that the bureaucracy is robbing us.
A few moments later.
Listen up, this one's important. I'm going to ask you to share this one as much as possible. The Senate appropriation bill that's being voted on next week has $5.7 billion tucked away for refugees programs.
What?
Funding migrants who aren't even here yet. While we're dealing with our own messes, all of that's going on with the Somalis, the fraud, they're voting to put more money aside to bring more of them in. This is on the Senate appropriate bill being voted on next week. We're not hearing a lot about it. There's only a handful of Republicans pushing back. It's because they're on vacation. Prepare to call your congressman, to email your congressman. We have to make everybody aware that they're just trying to fuck us again. Literally, that's what they're trying to do, and it's not okay. But if we don't get loud, if you want it to be an influencer in 2026, use this to start. Put it in your own words, start talking about it, start sharing it. We need more citizen journalism. They're trying to shut us all down. This is the only way we get the information out there that they don't want out there. It has to be done.
And going back to some of this, guys, like that's for refugees who are not even here yet. So they are preparing to bring in more people. Okay. And that includes Somalia and other countries and foreigners who have essentially destroyed our social services here. They are getting billions, trillions of dollars. We're not even talking about how the majority of people who are on welfare are illegals or immigrants in this country.
A few moments later.
17 House Republicans, meanwhile, voted with Democrats yesterday to extend Obamacare subsidies for 3 years.
What?
Chamath from All-In Pot, a billionaire. He says if we allow for this way that we're doing business, the way we're taxing our people, the way we're regulating our businesses, the way that we are allowing the fraud to happen, he said the American empire will cease to exist. And I'll be honest with you, I fully believe that is the truth. Smart man, he's made a lot of money in his life, and he made a valid point. It's going to cause pandemonium and the cause of our empire to fall if we keep allowing for us, like Republicans, to talk about the dangers of waste, fraud, and abuse, talk about the taxation and regulation, but do nothing about it. He said because it's going to get a lot worse.
Senate Majority Leader John Thune said once again yesterday there's no appetite for the extension of the Senate. So the path really is unclear here. But what do you want to say about that, as well as the House passing a federal funding package yesterday of $180 billion, both parties overwhelmingly supporting the final package of 3 bills, even after GOP pushback earlier in the week over the Minnesota fraud concerns, Congressman?
What?
Flashback.
Listen up, this one's important. I'm going to ask you to share this one as much as possible. The Senate appropriation bill that's being voted on next week has $5.7 billion tucked away for refugees programs, funding migrants who aren't even here yet.
As well as the House passing a federal funding package yesterday of $180 billion, both parties overwhelmingly supporting the final package of 3 bills, even after GOP pushback earlier in the week over the Minnesota fraud concerns, Congressman.
While we're dealing with our own messes, all of that's going on with the Somalis, the fraud, they're voting to put more money aside to bring more of them in. This is on the Senate appropriate bill being voted on next week. We're not hearing a lot about it. There's only a handful of Republicans pushing back. It's because they're on vacation. Prepare to call your congressman, to email your congressman. We have to make everybody aware that they're just trying to fuck us again. Literally, that's what they're trying to do, and it's not okay. But if we don't get loud, if you want it to be an influencer in 2026, use this to start. Put it in your own words, start talking about it, start sharing it. We need more citizen journalism. They're trying to shut us all down. This is the only way we get the information out there that they don't want out there. It has to be done.
And going back to some of this, guys, like that's for refugees who are not even here yet. So they are preparing to bring in more people. Okay. And that includes Somalia and other countries and foreigners who have essentially destroyed our social services here. They are getting billions, trillions of dollars. We're not even talking about how the majority of people who are on welfare are illegals or immigrants in this country. So there is a lot going on right now, but I want to circle back and update you guys on what's going on with this fraud, the Somalian daycare fraud, but it's much bigger than daycares, guys. We're talking about potentially trillions of dollars once you add up all the years and all the states and all the different frauds that have been going on. But this is some really devastating news for Americans, and really, I would say for Christians, because they have been allowed to not only invade our country, not only promote and push Sharia law. We see many mayors and lawmakers and politicians are now Muslim, even swearing on the Quran, which Mamdani just did, which in the Quran it states to kill Christians, to kill the infidels, that they, the commandments in there are to essentially destroy anyone who does not become Muslim, that does not accept Islam, and that, they'll just take the women, take the children, and if the men won't comply specifically, then they'll just sexually violate women and children. Guys, this is what Mamdani and any Muslim politician has laid their hand on in the Quran. So you need to understand how deep and how evil this is, and just understand how lawmakers in this country have allowed them to flourish, sending billions of dollars to terrorist organizations to help destroy this country. So when I tell you we are in dark times, we are in dark times. Look at this, guys. It keeps going on and on. Like I told you, it's been revealed by more court documents that Somali fraudsters in Minnesota spent millions of taxpayer dollars in property in Africa and other luxury items. I want every single one gone. We don't need a single Somalian to succeed. So this is what he put on here, but let's just...
New documents shedding light on the luxurious lives of the Somali fraudsters convicted in the Feeding Our Future scandal were living with stolen funds. Documents revealing that scammers spent the stolen money on an apartment in Turkey, expensive car rentals, a luxury apartment building, and even a 4-story building and resort in Kenya.
What? Okay, we go back to the records from the Department of Children, Youth and Families. Their licensed capacity is 12, and they have 5 available slots. They're not at max capacity. According to the DCYF, this organization currently has a maximum of 7 children enrolled. So if we go to the most recent biennium and we just look at the most recent payment, which is $68,016, that would mean that this organization is receiving $9,700 per month per child. And in some months, it's even more. For example, in September, they received $81,263 in just 1 month.
Is this not insane? But listen, it's all part of the plan, guys, to destabilize the country, to have us desperate, to have us broke, to have us just on the edge. This, guys, and it's all pushing towards a one world agenda. Guys, it is. Look at this. It says President of Somalia boasts about how Somalis in the U.S. became part of America's decision making by voting and have infiltrated some of the highest offices in the U.S. to advance the Somali agenda. They're open about it. I've brought you information about illegal voting, election fraud that has been happening with the Somalis. This is what they have done. Specifically, we have found that in Minnesota. Okay. No wonder Tim Walz is stepping back.
Listen up, this one's important. I'm going to ask you to share this one as much as possible. The Senate appropriation bill that's being voted on next week has $5.7 billion tucked away for refugees programs, funding migrants who aren't even here yet. While we're dealing with our own messes, all of that's going on with the Somalis, the fraud, they're voting to put more money aside to bring more of them in. This is on the Senate appropriate bill being voted on next week. We're not hearing a lot about it. There's only a handful of Republicans pushing back. It's because they're on vacation. Prepare to call your congressman, to email your congressman. We have to make everybody aware that they're just trying to fuck us again. Literally, that's what they're trying to do, and it's not okay. But if we don't get loud, if you want it to be an influencer in 2026, use this to start. Put it in your own words, start talking about it, start sharing it. We need more citizen journalism. They're trying to shut us all down. This is the only way we get the information out there that they don't want out there. It has to be done.
And going back to some of this, guys, like that's for refugees who are not even here yet. So they are preparing to bring in more people. Okay, and that includes Somalia and other countries and foreigners who have essentially destroyed our social services here. They are getting billions, trillions of dollars. We're not even talking about how the majority of people who are on welfare are illegals or immigrants in this country.
You know, it's a busy week in Washington. We have an agenda, America First agenda we are trying to enact and put in place. But right now we are trying to undo years of malpractice by Democrat administrations like the Biden administration, like the Obama administration. Obamacare is broken. It is a broken system. We can't double down with subsidies, extended subsidies that just paper over costs and take taxpayer dollars and send them directly to insurance company CEO pockets. That's not what we should be doing. We should be putting this money in the hands of taxpayers, giving them more options to choose the health insurance plan that's right for them.
Chamath from All In Pot, a billionaire. He says if we allow for this way that we're doing business, the way we're taxing our people, the way we're regulating our businesses, the way that we are allowing the fraud to happen, he said the American empire will cease to exist. And I'll be honest with you, I fully believe that is the truth. Smart man, he's made a lot of money in his life, and he made a valid point. It's going to cause pandemonium and the cause of our empire to fall if we keep allowing for us, like Republicans, to talk about the dangers of waste, fraud, and abuse, talk about the taxation and regulation, but do nothing about it. He said because it's going to get worse. Elon Musk reshared this. I want to just hit a few topics right quick that you need to pay attention to when it comes to your money and taxation. I told you the first year I don't want to pay taxes anymore. I'm sick of it. I believe we should give up because there's no reason that they should penalize us for not paying taxes while we allow for government services to fail audits, to steal our money. Fraud and abuse has already been proven, and yet no one goes to jail for it. Unbelievable. Listen to this. This is from Arthur McWaters. It says, let me get this straight. In 1913, 0 American families paid income tax. Okay, listen. In 2025, every family paid income tax, and about 2/3 of that just covered the fraud. Basically, on the NGOs, the USAID, all the taxation that we have given to other individuals and other groups and other participants, it really shows that the amount of money that we've paid is really a waste. 2/3 of it is a waste. 66.6% is a waste. Here's where it gets really crazy. We have become such a tax farm for politicians to enrich themselves and anyone who they can import to vote for them. It's said that the average American, listen to this, the average American that's making under $500,000, if we cut out waste, fraud, and abuse, the average American wouldn't pay anything in taxation. And the ones that are making over $500,000 to the uber rich billionaires would pay a minimal because it would cover everything we need to cover for the government. What it is our government has put us in our own prisons, like we've talked about before, and they've allowed this money to go to these NGOs, to go to these special interests, to go to these lobbyists, to go to this, that, this, and that money funnels right back into their pockets. 2/3 of the money we're giving the government that they take from us is truly waste, fraud, and abuse. I want you to just listen to this story. This will blow your mind. Sisters make $774,000 a year babysitting each other's kids on a taxpayer dime in Washington. So this is how they beat the system. This is how the NGOs, the governments, the corruption happens, just like the one in Minnesota. This is from Mario Nafal. It says, 2 sisters in Washington figured out how to beat the system. They turned childcare into a full-time payday. Listen to this. This is crazy. All they had to do was babysit each other's children and call it a business. So basically these 2 people said, you know what, let's just figure it out. I'm going to babysit your children. You're going to babysit my children. We're going to call us in-home house care, child care companies. So we need to build businesses based on that. And then because these liberal governments are doing entitlement programs and subsidies for these child care facilities to make sure that everybody gets safety and child care paid for by the government, meaning I have to pay for everybody else's child care, by the way. Listen to this. It says, they both signed this in-home daycare providers group. Then they claimed that others were their client, meaning it's kind of like the Minnesota that was all fraud. But listen, the state pays up to $33 an hour per child. So one watches 4 kids, the other watches 4, and they suddenly are pulling in around $387,000 each a year. All funded by the public. Calling this legalized fraud is exactly what it is. We've legalized people to rob us blind.
Yeah, understood. Well, the Senate advanced a bipartisan resolution yesterday to block the president from using further military force within or against Venezuela until he gets prior approval from Congress. 5 Republicans joined all 47 Democrats on that vote, including Kentucky's Rand Paul, Maine's Susan Collins, Missouri Josh Hawley, Alaska's Lisa Murkowski, and Indiana's Todd Young. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer spoke after the vote. Watch this.
Look, people don't want endless war. And when, even before we know what they're doing in Venezuela and what they want to do in Venezuela, they can even accomplish, and we don't even know how they're going to accomplish, they start talking about Colombia, they start talking about Mexico, they start talking about Greenland. The American people are saying, what the hell is going on here? And what's gotten into the president's head?
Congressman, what's your reaction?
What's gotten into the president's head is he's looking out for the American people. He's protecting the American people from drug cartels, from drugs that are coming in, killing American citizens, destroying American families. And by delivering this warrant and administering this warrant, and he needed special forces to go in to be able to arrest Maduro and deliver him to justice in New York City. This has precedent with Ortega. This has precedent with past presidents. Obama, Biden have used American forces for narrow strikes when necessary. This is not about war with Venezuela. We're not declaring war. And as the president said, he's not sending in more troops into Venezuela because the delivery of that warrant and the administration of justice to bring Maduro back has been accomplished. So what we can do is say that Maduro is going to see justice and move forward with how we can work with Venezuela and the new leader of Venezuela there. She's going to be coming to the White House, and hopefully there can be a better relationship that will ensure that the Venezuelan people benefit from the oil that's there, but also that the American people can be safe from the drugs that were killing Americans for so many years.
A few moments later.
If you were watching the show last night, you saw it happen in real time. If you missed it, I'm going to present it for you. Because I got an email directly from the White House right in the middle of the broadcast. Not through leaks, not through spin, an official memorandum addressed to every executive department and agency in the federal government. What it contained was nothing short of historic. President Trump, and the thing is, nobody's talking about this. We searched far and wide today. Who's talking about this memorandum? Nobody is. And I wonder why. We're going to find out why. See, President Trump just ordered the United States to withdraw from and defund 66 international organizations, including 31 United Nations organizations. If you were watching the show last night, you saw it happen in real time. If you missed it, I'm going to present it for you. Because I got an email directly from the White House right in the middle of the broadcast. Not through leaks, not through spin, an official memorandum addressed to every executive department and agency in the federal government. What it contained was nothing short of historic. President Trump, and the thing is, nobody's talking about this. We searched far and wide today. Who's talking about this memorandum? Nobody is. And I wonder why. We're going to find out why. See, President Trump just ordered the United States to withdraw from and defund 66 international organizations, including 31 United Nations organizations, climate compacts, migration forums, global governance councils, all of them gone. The checkbook slamming shut. You see, for decades, American taxpayers have funded, and you may not even know this, funded international organizations that have actively worked against American interests. Climate enforcement bodies that strangled our energy sector. Migration forums that pressured open borders, global governance councils that told us how to run our country. We paid for the privilege of being lectured and undermined. That era is now officially over. The memorandum cites Executive Order 14199 and confirms that the Secretary of State completed a full review of every international organization receiving U.S. funds. After deliberation with the cabinet, the president made the final determination. Dozens of these entities are contrary to American interests. Now, Section 2 of that memo is the kill list. And when you see the names, you're going to understand why the global establishment's freaking out and why the mainstream media is silent. This is not symbolic. This is called execution. Memorandum for the heads of executive departments and agencies. Listen to this. Subject: withdrawing the United States from international organizations, conventions, and treaties that are contrary to the interests of the United States. By the authority vested in me as president by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, I hereby direct Section 1 purpose. On February 4th, 2025, I issued Executive Order 14199, withdrawing the United States from and ending funding to certain United Nations organizations and reviewing United States support for all international organizations. That executive order directed the Secretary of State, in consultation with the United States representative to the United Nations, to conduct a review of all international intergovernmental organizations of which the United States is a member and provides any type of funding or other support, and all conventions and treaties to which the United States is party, to determine which organizations, conventions, and treaties are contrary to the interests of the United States. The Secretary of State has reported his findings as required by Executive Order 14199. Section B, I have considered the Secretary of State's report, and after deliberating with my cabinet, I have determined that it is contrary to the interests of the United States to remain a member of, participate in, or otherwise provide support to the organizations listed in Section 2 of this memorandum. Oh boy. Section 2. Consistent with Executive Order 14199 and pursuant to the authority vested in me as president by the Constitution and laws of the United States, I hereby direct all executive departments and agencies to take immediate steps to effectuate the withdrawal of the United States from the organization listed in Section 2 of this memorandum as soon as possible. What is Section 2? We haven't even got there yet. For United Nations entities, withdrawal means ceasing participation in or funding to those entities to the extent permitted by law. For United Nations entities. What is Section 2? Here we go. My review of further findings of the Secretary of State remains ongoing. Section 2. Organizations from which the United States shall withdraw. A. Non-United Nations organizations. 24/7 Carbon-Free Energy Compact. Done. Colombo Plan Council. Done. Commission for Environmental Cooperation. Done. Education Cannot Wait. Done. European Center for Excellence for Countering Hybrid Threats. Done. Forum of European National Highway Research Laboratories. Done. Freedom Online Coalition. Axed. Global Community Engagement and Resilience Fund. Goodbye. Global Counterterrorism Forum. Gone. Global Forum on Cyber Expertise. Gone. Global Forum on Migration and Deployment. Gone. Inter-American Institute for Global Change Research. Done. Intergovernmental Forum on Mining, Minerals, Metals, and Sustainable Development. Done. Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change gets the axe. Intergovernmental Science Policy Platform on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services gets the axe. International Center for the Study of the Preservation of the Restoration of Cultural Property. Done. I mean, this sounds like a wish list these sounds like all organizations that are consumed with climate and you have to do a cultural acknowledgement, a land acknowledgement. You see these ridiculous things. International Cotton Advisory Committee, they're getting the axe. International Development Law Organization, gone. International Energy Forum, International Federation of Arts, Councils, and Culture Agencies, gets the axe. International Institute for Democracy and Electoral Assistance, holy cow, this list goes on and on. International Lead and Zinc Study Group, International Renewable Energy Agency, International Solar Alliance, International Tropical Timber Organization, International Union for Conservation of Nature, Pan American Institute of Geography and History, Partnership for Atlantic Cooperation. I mean, this goes on and on. Regional Cooperation Agreement on Combating Piracy and Armed Robbery Against Ships in Asia. They're getting the axe too. Regional Cooperation Council, Renewable Energy Policy Network for the 21st Century, axed. Science and Technology Center in Ukraine. Yeah, that's where your money was going. Secretariat of Pacific Regional Environmental Program, Venice Commission of the Council of Europe, United Nations organizations, holy cow. The United Nations is getting defunded. What I just read to you were non-UN. Now we're going into the United Nations. The Department of Economic and Social Affairs, UN Economic and Social Council, the ECOSOC, Economic Commission for Africa, ECOSOC, Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean, Economic and Social Commission for Asia, the Pacific, Economic Social Commission for Western Asia, International Law Commission, International Residual Mechanism for Criminal Tribunals, the International Trade Center, Office of the Special Advisor of Africa, Office of the Special Representative of the Secretary General for Children in Armed Conflict, gone. Office of the Special Representative of the Secretary General on Sexual Violence and Conflict, gone. Office of the Special Representative of the Secretary General on Violence Against Children, Peacebuilding Commission, Peacebuilding Fund, Permanent Forum on People of African Descent, UN Alliance of Civilizations. I mean, guys, this list goes on and on and on and on, all the way. So the implementation guidance, the Secretary of State shall provide additional guidance as needed to agencies when implementing this memorandum. Nothing in this memorandum shall be construed to impair or otherwise affect the authority granted by law to an executive department or agency or the head thereof. The functions of the Director of Office of Management and Budget relating to budgetary, administrative, legal procedures. Wow. Dude, President Trump just gutted it. The entire international community at 5:51 p.m. on January 7th, 2026, withdrawing the United States from international organizations, conventions, and treaties, contrary to the interests of the United States. So they reviewed all these organizations and found all of them to be contrary to the interests of the United States and gave them the boot. You see, the American people have been paying to be managed by unelected foreign bureaucrats for far too long. Climate bodies that killed jobs, migration forums that pushed open borders, governance councils that treated American sovereignty as an obstacle to overcome. We funded them, we legitimized them, and we use our own money to undermine ourselves. Bye-bye. That's all over now. President Trump didn't just sign a symbolic withdrawal. He ordered a full cabinet-level review, identified 66 organizations working against American interests, and cut them all out in one stroke of a pen. 35 non-UN bodies, 31 UN entities, treaties terminated, funding severed, sovereignty reclaimed. The White House said it plainly: no more wasting taxpayer dollars on globalist agendas. So do you think these organizations, we should have left them sooner? Yes or no? Tell me in the comments. And show the world you stand by America.
It's all waste, fraud, and abuse. Now I want to go to another story before we talk about what Chamath said about this waste, fraud, and abuse. Listen to this. It says, Palantir CEO Alex Karp on Elon Musk, Doge, and rampant fraud. Listen to what he stated. 90% of our country is like, we want to get rid of fraud and abuse, meaning he's quoting saying most of the country is all in agreement with this. 90%, he said, actually it's probably more than that, but 10% is probably all the bureaucracy that is hired by us as the taxpayers. But listen, it says the biggest problem in society is legitimacy of our institutions. Why are they legitimate? Do any of us really believe that 99% of our tax dollars are actually spent on what they're supposed to be spent on? He said there's no transparency. And then on the top of that, we have the government buying and getting into even more. So why do we not know where our money is actually spent? He says we loved what Elon was doing. We loved what Doge was doing. And instead, they shut it down because I believe that if they actually saw exactly what Elon was truly exposing, he said it would cause for a civil upheaval and civil unrest because you're wasting the people's money who is working countlessly and tirelessly to take their money and use it to fatten the pockets of politicians. That is unbelievable. I love hearing more of these people speak up for the common Joe because you know what? Do I like all these uber rich billionaires and everybody dogs them out like Chamath or like Alex Carper, like Elon Musk? But you know what? They're speaking for us right now. They're speaking for us right now when no one else can. Look, I can speak, but I'm only going to get a few eyeballs. Alex Carper's sitting right there on CNBC and on Fox Business and on these other talk shows basically showing and telling exactly how the American people truly feel. 90% want to find out where their money's going. And yet, the government has done nothing about it. No matter what side of the aisle they're on. John Thune, Mike Johnson, nothing. They're actually still trying to spend more on this problem. Do you realize that? Watch yesterday's video. They're truly wanting to give more money to mass migration instead of actually allowing the American people to keep their own money.
When it's time to go, you can choose how. You can wait for enforcement, or you can leave on your terms. The CBP Home app lets you self-deport with dignity, directly and securely. Don't wait. Decide how it ends.
Crying harder, crying harder. Trump is your president. Crying harder, crying harder. Trump is your president.
On the 3 unfired casings read, "Hey fascist!" exclamation point, catch exclamation point.
Do you think Donald Trump is a fascist?
Yes, I do.
No one has ever been more dangerous to this country than Donald Trump, and he is a fascist to his core.
Hey, let me shut down the Senate! We are at war!
We're in a war right now.
We are at war.
So you have to be willing to do whatever is necessary in order to save the country.
And that's why the gloves are off.
Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundations of our republic.
And yes, there are many threats to democracy. We see it with these extreme candidates.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country, and maybe there will be.
You can only push people so far, and then they start to take matters into their own hands.
What the American public want is for us to bring actual weapons to this bar fight. This is an actual fight.
You know, this is literally call to arms.
The MAGA movement is a threat.
But Michelle says that, when they go low, we go high.
No. With all due respect, if they go low, we don't go high.
When they go low, we kick them.
We take them to the mud and choke them out.
And make sure that they stay down. And you know what? Kick them when they're down because they deserve it.
Get up in the face of some Congress people.
We are going to be in your face. We are going to be on your...
We have to fight this in the streets.
We're going to fight it in the streets.
It's time to step out of your comfort zone and step out into the streets.
To our Republican colleagues, if you do not see the light, we will bring the fire. Resist! You and your little friend off of Twitter. Y'all about to find out.
And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere.
He's not going to have a third term. he may not finish his term.
Yes, the last few days you woke up thinking there might be news. Just saying. Just saying. There will be news sometime. Just so you know, there will be news.
I want to be remembered for courage for my faith. That would be the most important thing. Most important thing is my faith in my life.
But if you're not happy in the U.S., if you're complaining all the time, very simply, you can leave. You can leave right now. Come back if you want. Don't come back. It's okay too. But if you're not happy, you can leave.